This young man was being accused of taking his neighbor's life during an altercation, and the reason for the fight was that this defendant had parked his motorcycle in front of this neighbor's house, right at the victim's door. And this apparently made the victim extremely irritated. Take a look at the defendant's testimony.
Well, to provide a comprehensive summary of the facts, the specific information that I have currently gathered indicates that on the 18th day of January in the year 2022, you were involved in a very specific and particular situation that we are discussing. It tragically took the life of the young victim, Lucas Gonçalves das Virgens. Please tell me exactly what happened on that fateful day, January 18th, 2022.
Do you want me to tell the whole story right now, or just what happened on that particular day?
Were you working at the time?
Yes, I was working, officially registered at the upholstery factory.
Had you gone to work?
Yes, in fact, at the time of the incident, I was just arriving home for lunch.
All right.
So,
let's start from right over there, shall we?
okay.
So you arrived there for lunch, and then what exactly happened after that?
As soon as I arrived for lunch, I parked my vehicle where I always do, right in front of my house. In fact, there was even a mistake related to the testimony of one of the witnesses in favor of Lucas, the victim. He said that the house was far away, that it was about 150 meters from one to the other. Imagine the houses were right across from each other.
Your house?
The house was right there.
The victim's house was in front too?
Face to face, that's right, correct. And on the corner, since the house was on the corner by his house, there was a small plot of land with a tree where every day, ever since I started living there, I would park my vehicle as usual. In fact, I had a great relationship, and still do, with everyone in the neighborhood. Not just in the neighborhood, but with everyone who knows me. On the day of the incident, he was already waiting for me under the tree. He was already under the tree, waiting for me, right where I park my motorcycle every day. And as soon as I stopped the motorcycle, before I even turned off the key, just like it was today, he said, "I don't want you to park your motorcycle here." So I looked at his face and laughed. I took my motorcycle. Since it's on the corner there, it forms a point. I took my motorcycle, pushed it, and parked it up the street where it forms a point, kind of like an L shape. Yes. I parked it further up, but it was still partly under the tree, just to keep it farther from the front of his house. After all, he didn't have a garage, didn't have anything else. He didn't have a vehicle, nothing. This guy had absolutely nothing. So I just parked my motorcycle. Further up, he kept following me, and wherever I went, he kept complaining. He didn't want me to park my motorcycle there. He wanted me to move it, and that's what I said. The only thing I said, after laughing, was after I had parked the motorcycle. I told him that he could boss around on his own property, inside his house, but out on the street, he had no authority over anything. That was the only thing I had said up to that point. He said, when I got off, after I turned off the motorcycle, after I pushed the motorcycle and turned it off, when I was coming close to my house, he said, "You're not going to move the motorcycle. I'm going to call the police." I said, "Go ahead, call them." Well, the motorcycle was overdue. I think that's why he thought I was going to, move the motorcycle. Then the guy saw that I left the motorcycle there, especially since it wasn't bothering anyone. And it was a place where anyone could go. It was a public street where there was some shade underneath, And at noon, you know very well how strong the sun is here in Capim Grosso. So I just said, he said, "Are you going to move it?" "No, I'm going to call the police." I said, "Go ahead, call them." So I went inside my house to have lunch. I didn't think even if he called the police that they would come and we would try to resolve it.
Right.
You understand? In a legal way, of course, obviously. And he didn't call. What did he do? He grabbed a big stick, and I was already in the kitchen with my plate on the table, about to have lunch. Before I sat down, I was just about to sit at the table.
All right, then, we'll stop here for now, okay? Let's wrap up this very first moment, this first contact that you ever had with him, all right?
Up until I went into my house.
All right, well then, I'll go ahead and ask. I
was going to call the police.
I'll ask. At that moment, was there any more heated argument between you two?
He spoke loudly when he talked about the motorcycle, telling me to have it moved from there. He did speak loudly, but there wasn't a severe argument. It didn't get to that point. The argument that I...
Did he insult you? Did you insult him?
At that exact moment, no. At that exact moment, when I turned off the motorcycle and went inside the house to have lunch, no. He insulted me in the way I'm telling you. You understand? At that exact moment, no.
All right. Because at the police station, there's information that you really did leave the motorcycle under a tree, right?
That's right.
And that bothered him. That's right. He kept on shouting and cursing at you to your face. repeatedly and constantly calling you a disgrace?
No, that did happen, but it wasn't at that exact moment.
It wasn't then.
It wasn't at that exact moment. That was already at the time of the stick. He didn't call the police even though he said he would.
He
He didn't call. That was already at the time of the stick. He already came with the stick and the gun in his hand. You understand?
It's because according to the sequence here at the police station, you said that first this happened and then after that you carefully parked the motorcycle on a completely different street and then you slowly returned back to your home. So that would be a second moment.
That L there is already like...
That
Other part of the L is already another one. Street, in this case, it's already another avenue.
And then while you were having lunch, Lucas showed up banging on the door. So the sequence of events you're describing here doesn't match what you said at the police station, but then there was this reversal, right? So that insult only happened later when you were with Ripon, not before.
When he came with Ripon. He spoke loudly, arrogantly, telling me to move my motorcycle from there. After all, it's a huge disrespect for someone to show up, a hard-working, decent citizen, and do such a thing. Especially since it was something that wasn't bothering him at all. Absolutely nothing. And even so, I still did everything I could to avoid trouble, moving my motorcycle in another direction.
Okay, that's clear. So you went inside the house and what happened from that point on?
From that point on, and I remember when I already had the plate in my hand, I was coming from the stove, almost at the table. I was just about to sit down at the table with my plate in my hand. I was still in my work uniform. I hadn't even taken off my work clothes yet. That's when my daughter's mother came in screaming, and then right after, at the very same moment, he started banging on the gate. Right after. Like the moment she got startled, right after that came the banging. He started banging several times on the bars.
On the
Window and on the
gate? Just to make sure everything is very detailed, okay? Did they see Lucas when he approached the house and get startled? At what moment did they get startled? How did it happen?
I was in the kitchen at the time, holding my lunch plate. In the kitchen, there is no window.
You understand?
The kitchen there is closed off. It's a part of the house.
Perfect, perfect. So at what moment did they get scared?
At the exact moment when he was already coming with the wooden plank. Already.
Was coming with the wooden plank? That's right. So they were able to see him. The mother and the
daughter.
Yes, I'm referring to them. That's right. They managed to see Lucas approaching with the wooden plank.
Correct.
They froze.
The moment she let out the first scream, I already heard the banging on the gate.
All right, all right.
There is a gate there, both on the window and also on the door.
All right, you may continue.
Then, right after, when she got scared, I also got scared. Right after that, with her panic, I ran straight to the living room, left the plate on the table, and ran straight to the living room. Then she came up to me and said, "It's Lucas." So when I got there, there's a little hallway, the space from the kitchen to the living room. She met me in the hallway. She said, "It's Lucas with the wooden plank in his hand." So I already had some idea of what was going on, and I went to stand in front of the door. Where the iron door is, the living room door,
To
the front of the house. I went to the front of the door and looked at him, stared him down. Then he kept talking nonsense, cursing a lot, to the point of even threatening my family. Sir, as the head of a family, you will truly understand what I went through at that exact moment.
what did he say?
Besides all the cursing, calling me all sorts of names like dickhead, asshole, constantly saying, "Get that damn motorcycle out of here." He was shouting all kinds of insults, all kinds of curse words. Asshole, damn it, son of a bitch. All sorts of curse words. And then, when he saw that I was standing in front of the gate, he thought, I don't know what he was thinking. I guess he thought I wasn't going to leave, maybe. That's when he said it, when he actually threatened my family.
What did he say about your family?
Hurry up and get that damn motorcycle out of here, or we'll do something terrible to your family.
Then, after that, he started cursing again and said, "Before I do something terrible to you all." So I told my daughter's mother, who was desperate at that point. Already in the kitchen area of the hallway, I told her, "Go to the bedroom and hide." Meanwhile, I was trying to distract him, facing him. He was outside and I was inside. And at the same time, he had a wooden plank in one hand and a revolver in the other.
Were you already able to tell that he had the revolver in his other hand?
I got to the gate. Maybe my daughter's mother didn't see it because she went to the window and saw him coming towards us, the wooden plank in his hand. And maybe he brought the plank to hit the window because he wouldn't hit the window with a gun. He's not going to take a gun and instead of firing it, pointing it at someone or anywhere else, go and hit someone's window with it. Do you understand? And then as soon as I asked her, Go to the bedroom. Hide. Take Laura. She grabbed her and ran. And she was already in the hallway that led to the bedroom too. So I was focused on him, completely focused on him. When I saw that the mother of my daughter had already disappeared from my car, for me up until then, I thought she had gone to the bedroom. But since I was focused, I didn't see whether she had left or if she had actually stayed in the bedroom. Then I got up and went to leave. When I went out, he came toward me. When we kind of met, he was sort of at the corner. My motorcycle was more to the right side of the corner, right at the tip of the corner, and he was already a bit to the left side. When I went out, he kind of came toward me. When he let go of the throttle, already getting close to the sidewalk by his house, when he let go of the throttle and made a move as if to raise his weapon at me, I saw the opportunity and defended myself at that moment. I went at him, already grabbing the weapon, twisting it and pinning him down. And I managed by force, after a lot of struggle, to hold onto his weapon, but I didn't throw any punches or strike any blows that would leave a mark on the person. In fact, when I mentioned it in my statement, I was explaining. Then the officer said, "So there was a physical struggle." I said, "Correct. That is also considered a physical struggle." After all, grappling is a physical struggle. Grappling is a physical struggle. So, in that move I made, after a lot of effort, I managed to take the weapon. He, when he saw that I had taken his weapon and moved away, he came toward me and fired the first shot at my body. Up until then...
You see, we're already at the point of the shooting, right? When you left your house, what was your objective?
I left with the intention of taking the motorcycle. And if he had to do something, he should have done it only to me, not to my family.
Did you leave the house armed with anything?
Left with absolutely nothing. Just absolutely nothing at all to show for it.
As soon as you walked out through your front door at that exact moment, exactly what was the distance he was from you?
From my front door? He was about 4 meters to the left, about 3 to 4 meters to the left.
And was that already on the sidewalk in front of his house?
The street isn't wide. No, the house is right across. That's why I'm saying it was a huge exaggeration to say it was 100 to 150 meters away from my house.
If you happen to?
Look at the photo of the house and the spot, you'll see that the house is right in front. The street, I don't even know if it's 5 meters wide.
All right. So when you left, was he closer to his front door and did he come toward you? Just so I understand.
Toward me. And
you went toward him?
I went toward the motorcycle. The motorcycle was more to the right.
Right.
Where the motorcycle was, under the shade. And he came toward me.
Right.
Do you understand? He came toward me.
I understand. And then at that very moment when you first saw him, right as soon as you stepped out of your house, was he clearly holding the heavy wooden club, the long gun, and the silver revolver?
In fact, he made gestures. He would raise the gun, showing that he was armed. It wasn't just once or twice. He made several gestures, raising the revolver, showing that he was armed.
Was that when you first ran into each other on the street?
No, that is not right. On the street, he was still holding onto the air ball, but while he was gesturing quite emphatically, I was still standing right in front of my gate.
But when you went out, you were able to identify him with a club in one hand and a gun in the other.
The moment I appeared at the gate, I already identified him.
And he was about 4 meters away from you.
More or less, that's it. I'll tell you exactly. Because in times of distress, a person can never have an exact calculation. Okay. If it's the right time, a person can never really have it, but it was more or less, it was around that. Because I know roughly the street's dimensions, I can use that as a basis.
Yeah.
Got it?
I understood what you said, and then even with the knowledge of him having a dangerous firearm and a heavy club, you still thought it was the right case to leave the safety of the house to go out there.
To go out for my family, not just for my family, but for any decent citizen in my life. I know where I come from. I know how hard a decent person works to achieve things.
But what I want to know is if the three of you inside the house wouldn't be safe?
No, because the gate that protects the door, honestly, it was God. If he wanted to get in, all he had to do was grab the gate and do this. Even though the entrance gate has a latch mechanism, it was left completely open.
Right.
Do you understand?
So when you...
The gate and there's an iron door.
I understand.
Both of them. And throughout the day, during the day, the door, the gate, was always open. Do you understand? So it was God who didn't let him enter the house. It was God who, at the moment when he was there all agitated, kept him from having the malice to pull the gate and try to break in.
It was
God.
So when you left the house, you went to your motorcycle, turned right, and he came towards you.
As soon as I left the house, he was already waiting. And
Did he come toward you with a gun and a club as well?
no. When he started, he came with a gun and a club. When he got close to me, when he was already walking next to me, he came, he was going this way, he came, then he got company, came and did it. A boot, you know? A short boot. That's when he dropped the club.
He dropped the club and then
That's when he made a movement, a gesture, raising the gun. That was the only moment I thought he might actually shoot me too. And also, like me, I also thought that at that moment I could try to take his gun. Because clearly and obviously, someone doesn't go to another person's door with a gun just to play around. They go there to take someone's life. And the only thing that goes through a father's mind when he finds himself in a situation like this is to protect his family, even if he has to give his own life, even if he dies in that moment. But the only thing that goes through a father's mind is to defend his family, not to let anything happen to them.
did he manage to hit you at any point? Even if it wasn't with a firearm or a club? Did he ever physically strike you or hit you at any point during the incident?
Only when we grappled. I can't say for sure if the blow, I was left with a pain in my rib. However, I can't tell you if it was a punch he threw or if it happened during the scuffle. I can't really say for sure. I had a terrible pain in my rib right after, and by late afternoon when I was already at the farm, I was still feeling a lot of pain, but I can't say if it was a punch he landed at that moment because I was very distressed, holding on, trying to grab his hand.
All right, and were you actually able to get that done? Disarm him?
I managed to.
And then from that point on, what happened?
From there, I took a few steps back. I can't tell you exactly how many, but I stepped back. And with the gun still kind of lowered, trying to take the gun from his hand, he came toward me trying to take the gun, so I fired a shot into his body. When I shot him in the body, he stepped back, but then he came at me again. That's when I fired more shots. And today I can tell you, and I even said this at the preliminary hearing, that I didn't know how many shots were fired in total. I didn't know how many shots had been fired in total. I only remembered the first one. But I found out the number of shots later because I read the report that was given to me when I was incarcerated. After that, I even mentioned it to the cellmate who was there with me because he would come and ask, "Man, how many shots did you fire?" So I only found out after the report arrived at the cell block, where it mentioned some details about what happened.
All right. How did this conflict between you all start?
To tell you the truth, on my part personally, there had never been any conflict at all. If you pay attention to the testimony of the last guy who was questioned, Edson, this all started at Bava. It was a soccer game that I organized every Sunday, early in the morning, both for people from the neighborhood and people from other neighborhoods, because I've lived in other neighborhoods here in Capim Grosso. So there were people who were, even pastors would come to the game. You understand? At that soccer game, you couldn't even swear. It was a really pleasant, enjoyable thing, early in the morning, for everyone to spend time together, to laugh, to chat after the game, for us all to unwind. And this guy, this Lucas, he never fills up. He didn't have anyone there with him, and he even had a little barbershop, but he didn't actually cut hair. So he was my neighbor right across the street. How could I invite other people from the neighborhood but not invite the guy who lived right in front of my house, regardless of his situation with the other people in the neighborhood? I had nothing to do with his situation.
So the problem started at the
Soccer game. Overall, that's all that comes to mind about him. So what happened at the soccer game was that there was a play. So the boy dribbled past him and he went and tried to attack the boy. Because it's one thing to go in hard, that's normal. It happens in some soccer games. But there, you weren't allowed to hurt anyone. You couldn't go in hard on anyone, especially since he was the one who went in hard on the boy first. When the boy made a much lighter tackle than he had, he punched him from behind again. The boy was running with the ball and then he went and threw a punch. He hit the boy hard in the ear and punched him. The boy was even younger. And at that exact moment, people went after Lucas. Me and him, Edson, who was here when people stepped in to break it up, we helped separate others too, as well. Everyone ran to break it up because otherwise he was going to get beaten up by the others, you know, so we stepped in. I grabbed this guy, Lucas. I grabbed him, hugged him, pushed him to the side and asked, "What the hell are you doing?" The last serious conversation I had with him at that exact moment, he just kept giving me a mean look. But when I turned away, he wouldn't even look at my face. He wouldn't even look. At that exact moment during the game, then Pei said, "Go home, go home." He didn't go home, he stayed there. But up until then, at that moment, I along with the other guys, managed to calm down the other people who were upset with him. Then PEI called everyone together later in the group. Before gathering the group, he stopped and said, "I mentioned it. What do you all think?" Because even though I was the one who organized the game, it was really everyone there. You get it? And
Exactly how much time before the incident did this event actually occur?
I can't tell you exactly, I can't give you an exact answer, but it was about 3 months. Edson said here about 2 months, but I think it was around 3 months before.
About 3 months before, more or less.
And
After that game, did you have any disagreements with him?
after that game, he started picking on little things, trivial stuff, but I was never the type to get stressed about anything at all. I was always the kind of guy who pretended nothing was happening. Hey, my brother, good morning, good afternoon, you know? No matter where I went, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Always polite, calling everyone my brother here and there. Always treating everyone with respect. No matter who it was, no matter who. Whether or not they already had an issue with me. Good morning, good afternoon, always being polite. But then he started, you could tell, especially on a certain day when he went, if you know what I mean. I said, man, I'm gonna add you back to the group. You're going to apologize to the guys for what happened so you can come back to the Baba, because he was always very isolated. This guy, he really kept to himself a lot. And there were already some issues with a few people. On the street though, he would just stay there, he was always alone. Sometimes he would turn on the music late at night and it would go on into the early morning.
All right, let's get back here. And he was...
Just a loner.
Okay.
To sum up what I was saying in relation to what you asked, I went to talk to him, man, I'm going to put you back in the Baba or in the group, but you need to apologize to the people there at the Baba. What you did was wrong. You said, if you dribble past me, I'll hit you. So I even felt like that was an insult to me. Also, when he said that in front of me, and I like it too, he said, if you dribble past me, I'll hit you. I also felt like he was being bossy with me. Also because I like to dribble. So I said, you know what, isolate him, because the guy was already isolated. I tried to re-socialize, to help in any way I could, you know, to bring everyone together, for everyone to be united, to be a group. Then what happened, another tournament, and he comes up and says something like that to me. So I said, And
this last conversation you had with him, trying to bring him back into the group, how long before the incident did it happen?
This last conversation?
Approximately. It was right after the first incident there at Nubaba.
He would always have coffee with me there, sometimes still, when he got home from work at night. So the boys, the group, we always...
Would go, how long was it more or less after that incident at Nubaba? A month later, 15 days, 2 months?
I can't say exactly, no.
More? No.
I can't say. No, but it would have been before the incident, about 30, 60 days.
Before that, I must...
Say exactly.
All right, okay.
So it's fine. After all, it wasn't something premeditated. It wasn't anything like that.
Right. You always parked your motorcycle there, right?
Yes. And
He had never been bothered by it?
with me, thank God it is not. It's truly remarkable how that happened. You end up not even understanding it. In fact, he had already had a problem because of the shade with a neighbor there. A neighbor who had parked his car. That was before I lived there. I didn't actually witness the incident. However, before I met him, when I started living there, I was already parking my motorcycle under there. Then he didn't say anything, and it's also a small plot of land where the branches of the tree extend beyond the property line. My motorcycle wasn't on the property, my motorcycle was outside the property, also to avoid anyone saying, oh, the land belonged to the guy.
Right, but you don't know why he decided to complain about you at that moment, since the incident had happened 3 months earlier at the soccer game, right? That he had been kind of excluded? And that last conversation had been 1 or 2 months ago, right? And you always parked your motorcycle there.
I always parked my motorcycle there.
And you honestly don't know why, all of a sudden, he found it so incredibly strange that you had parked your motorcycle right there.
You can also tell a lot just by looking at someone. You can tell by the look because the person has bad intentions toward you. You can tell a lot, like if you come up to me and say, good morning, my brother, and I don't respond, then something's up. You understand?
Yes.
So it started like that? But not because of that. I never stopped saying good morning or good afternoon. In fact, at the exact moment it happened, when I arrived on my motorcycle, I said good afternoon.
Right.
You understand?
Are you sorry about anything?
I really am, and I feel very sorry because only God knows everything I lost. including seeing my father, seeing my daughter, going through everything they went through during all this time. I'm going to get him some water.
Yes, please. Yes. When we can continue, let me know. Before we move forward with the next steps of our plan, I would really like to take a moment to confirm if every single detail we have discussed so far is entirely acceptable to you, and I want to ensure that you are feeling completely comfortable and satisfied with proceeding under these specific terms and conditions. Does that sound all right to you? Can we continue? Have you ever heard of the two individuals named Alessio and Alexandre?
I only know about the one who has health problems, and even then, not from talking to him. I know him by sight, from passing by on the street, because he would often go by there, messing around on his noisy motorcycle.
Tell me, had you ever actually had any problems with either of them?
Never.
The police officers who gave statements here?
If I knew them, or if they were strangers to me. No. No.
I also have nothing against them. All right. Is there anything you'd like to add that I haven't asked? Lucas?
You mentioned regret. Aren't you sorry for what happened to me? It's just that I took someone's life, even though it was in self-defense. I fell into a deep depression, my mother and my grandmother, who's right there behind me. But during which phase was that? There are even photos of me when I was depressed. I was enduring the pain, forgiving what happened. And so I was very distressed, sad, because I had hurt someone, something I never wanted to do. I didn't know anyone. I treated everyone well with respect. You who live here in Albuquerque, if you've ever been to any business here in Albuquerque, all the businesses, especially in construction, I bet you the workers know me. Everyone does. A lot of people here know me. They know very well who I am. I never had problems with anyone. Never. I had businesses, I had a bar, I've even prevented a lot of other people's problems, but there was never any trouble involving me, personally. And when I found myself in a situation where I pulled the trigger, whether I wanted to or not, to take that guy's life, that really destroyed me. And on top of that, there was the suffering of my family. My grandmother has health problems, my father has many chronic illnesses with all these diseases. And if I mention my daughter, the situation my daughter was in, things would get even more emotional, you know?
All right.
My mother too, suffering day by day, really my whole family, not just hers, but my entire family. They all suffered together.
Okay, Lucas, thank you. I'm satisfied. Dr. Prosecutor, any questions?
So according to the defendant, he only took his neighbor's life because he was threatening his family. Do you believe his version of events? Well, the weapon belonged to the victim. He got into a physical struggle with the victim, who was armed, and took his life with his own weapon. And that makes a big difference in the case. But even so, many legal experts at the time said that he had no reason to shoot. Since he had already disarmed the victim, he didn't need to shoot her. What do you think of this argument? Does it make any sense? Now, let's hear the prosecutor's arguments. If you're enjoying the video so far, like and subscribe to the channel. Here I post videos like this every week.
Good afternoon, sir. Vinicius.
A very good afternoon.
I'm just going to ask a few follow-up questions regarding what the judge has already done. I just wanted you to clarify that, first of all, you spoke, that's what I understood. You told the judge that Lucas was persistently knocking on the grand door of the Lord's house. What was the moment? How was it that you said when you left he was on the other side of the street? I didn't understand that dynamic.
As soon as I arrived,
No, just to clarify. In this part I'm asking about, you had already arrived home, you were already inside the house?
I was going to mention that as soon as
I got to the door? Oh, okay, sorry.
As soon as I got to the living room door, he moved away a little. Then he gestured with a revolver and with a chain in his other hand. I didn't say that he was gesturing with the revolver when I was in front, because at the same time he was hitting with the chain at the exact moment I was at the gate.
He moved away and was hitting at the same time? I didn't understand.
He repeatedly struck several times, using the heavy metal chain on the front gate and against the side of the house. In the time it took you to get from the cross to the living room, you could have delivered more than 10 or 15 blows. And after I passed that window, he didn't keep hitting. If I stopped after I got to the gate door, he had already struck blows both on the gate and on the window. When he saw me, I think he even thought I might be armed. What did he do? He made a defensive move. Because he even moved to the left side of my door. If he was facing me, he didn't keep going. He might have thought about that.
He might be armed.
So what did he do? He tried to move to the left and step back a bit. You understand?
Okay. He stepped back, and even so, you chose to leave the house?
Even so, he kept going. The cursing, the insults, the threats.
Yes, but he was already away from your house.
But he wasn't really away.
No, okay, maybe not far away, but he wasn't banging on your door anymore, was he?
Actually, that is not the case anymore.
He wasn't about to come into your house anymore, that's what I'm asking. He had moved away. No, sir, please, I beg of you.
Sir, if she allows it, okay. Otherwise, you'll have the opportunity to ask your questions.
But,
Sir, since you'll have your turn,
You can clarify.
clarify. Sir, you will have the opportunity. You will be able to ask and follow up.
yes, I definitely do.
I was waiting.
As I was saying, the distance he was at, if you have a photo of the house, then I wanted to check. Take a picture of the residence. Investigated, I don't know, but maybe someone took one. Both of my residents and the other residents.
No, I understand. I mean, you can go on, but I understand that it's not that far. I know there's a photo here that your lawyers submitted in the case. I'm understanding that it's not that far away. What I'm asking you is, why did I
It is time to leave.
the house? Yes, if at the moment you left the house, he had already moved away, he was no longer about to enter your house or pose at that moment any risk to your family, why did you, without a weapon, with him having a club and a weapon, why did you choose, and I am about to leave the house?
How could I not, ma'am? That the person doesn't intend to do something.
No, I'm not talking about him, I'm talking about you. Why did you leave?
I will answer. How can you say he doesn't intend to do something when he's making threats? To me? I was standing right there, completely in my right mind, and in fact, my entire family was still trapped inside the house. My family was still inside that house. My little 3-year-old daughter was inside the house, and my daughter's mother was also inside the house. This guy is out here making serious threats. I can see clearly that the front gate is, just as it usually is, wide open. It was open every day throughout the day. It was only closed at night to sleep. Am I supposed to just wait for him to see that I don't have anything and come into my house and do something? I went to try to take the motorcycle out. I went towards someone to get the motorcycle out.
But
At the moment, I had the chance to try to defend myself when I saw that he made even the slightest mistake. When he let go of the stick, when he did that, he made a gesture with the weapon. He made the motion of raising the gun. That was enough, since he was very close, for me to lunge at his hand to try to take his gun.
so had you already left the house when he made that move? I'm just not understanding, for example. You said that he moved away. Did you think about closing the door so he couldn't?
Come in. The way you're saying he moved away, it's like he turned his back to me and ended the situation.
No.
No, I understood what you said. He moved away, he took a few steps back
He stepped back.
and made a safety move. And so I'm asking, that's right. He wasn't in an attacking stance, he was in a defensive stance.
At the same time, he was hurling so many insults, and in fact, at the exact moment he stepped back, that's when I mentioned to your honor here that he gestured with the weapon. See? It was at the moment he gestured with the weapon. At the moment he stepped back, when he realized that I wasn't holding anything, he saw that I stopped. At the gate, he made the gesture.
You fired 2 more shots.
Today I can tell you about the 2, since there were 3 shots.
The
The issue I saw on the paper that was given to me when I was there, in prison, in Fera de Santana.
yes, and those other 2 shots? Where did they hit him?
The other 2 shots, I know as well, of course it's obvious because I read the paper, I read the whole document, just like I wanted you to read.
Please answer me, Mr. Benitez. Where did the other 2 shots hit? I saw it in the document, but I want you to say it because this is your moment to speak.
I shot in the upper region, in the face area, from the chest up.
All right. And when did you turn yourself in?
When did I turn myself in?
Because there is information in the case file that you were... advised at the time not to turn yourself in because there was a warrant for your arrest, right? Against you. How did you want to turn yourself in?
In fact, speaking right now about the process of turning myself in, which is very important for me to mention here, from the very first moment I wanted to surrender. And when we finally got in touch with the lawyer, when we willingly decided to turn ourselves in on the same day, he asked me to show up at his office in the early morning. Like, the incident happened the event was on Tuesday. So I was supposed to show up from Tuesday to Wednesday at his office, where I stayed with my father, my stepmother, and my cousin Alex. My cousin Alex, I think it was just those three, besides me. From what I remember, it was only those three. My father, my cousin Alex, and my stepmother. The three of them, along with me, took me to the office, where I arrived there in the early morning, just as the day was breaking. The lawyer was there, and he made it very clear, said it in so many words. In fact, there is a signature of mine proving this. My signature from that particular day, that Wednesday.
What was the question, ma'am?
I just asked how he turned himself in.
I just asked about turning myself in, but it's very important to mention this. On that particular day, because I tried to turn myself in from the very beginning, but the lawyer took me aside and advised me and told my father, Neto, get your son out of here because your son has a preventive warrant against him. When I get the preventive warrant lifted, I'll call you so you can bring him back. That way, he can present himself to the police. Then my father said, okay, fine. At that very moment, we left, and right then we went to Salvador. For a little over a year and a bit. For a little over a year, I was on the run. The police chief, he made a mistake here when he said how long it was. I was on the run for a little over a year, but during that whole time, every week, at least every 2 weeks, both my family and I would message the lawyer, wanting to turn myself in at any moment.
They...
Always stalling, always... Oh, I'm in such and such city. Oh, I'll talk to the judge. Oh, I'll talk to the police chief about turning you in. Call me on such and such date. And they kept setting dates, and I kept sending messages. Both
Me?
and my family. After a little over a year, I couldn't stand not working anymore. My daughter was suffering, needing her little things. My family in
Fact. Mr. Vinicius, I understand. I just wanted to know how it happened. So you chose to turn yourself in. You had stayed in Salvador and you turned yourself in after about a year or so, voluntarily. Did you hire another lawyer?
No, with the same one.
With the same...
Lawyer.
All right, okay.
Since he was the husband from the first marriage, neither I nor my family, we didn't know anything about this. We had never gone through this kind of experience.
We believed what he was saying. Thank you.
Do you understand? We believed what he was saying.
Doctor, let me just finish here. Okay? As the rule, questions are answered objectively. Just to make that clear, I'm not going to stop him from saying whatever he wants to say. The defense will be able to explore whatever they want. They'll be allowed to ask whatever they want. So just so we can save time, the prosecutor asks, he answers objectively. Doctor, they will have the opportunity to explore this however they want. They'll have all the time in the world, but just so we can optimize our time here.
I only thanked him because I was already satisfied with his answer. There was no reason to go on. Sometimes people talk without noticing. I'm done.
But at every moment,
What
you should do is try to
turn me in.
betray me.
All right, thank you.
I believe any citizen would do the same.
Thanks, Vinicius. I'm satisfied now.
No.
More questions.
Did you notice that the prosecutor was very focused on whether the victim was or was not knocking on the defendant's gate at the time of the crime? And did you notice that she used the word imminence? Nothing there is by chance. What she was trying to do was undermine the argument of self-defense, and the lawyer noticed that, which is why he got so irritated. By way of clarification, Article 25 of the Penal Code states that there is self-defense when a person tries to repel an unjust aggression that is either happening or imminent. This means that the unjust aggression is happening or very close to happening. If the prosecutor managed to prove that the victim was at the entrance to her house, and the accused went there and that's when the crime happened, she would be able to undermine the argument that there was self-defense. Now let's watch the questions from the defense attorney. But before that, I ask you to check out a list of books I recommended, which I put here in the description of this video. It's a selection I made. If you like law and philosophy, you need to check it out.
The defense
Is aware?
Hey there, Lucas.
The floor is yours, defense. Now it's our turn to ask questions. Could you continue narrating as I was narrating for the prosecutor about this part of turning yourself in so we can understand? You may begin. What happened was that when it got to the last month, which I can't tell you exactly, but it was about a year and a bit that I was on the run, with all the suffering, all the situation that was happening, both with me and with my family, my grandmother, she was super worried that I couldn't even step onto the sidewalk in front of the house, which was enough to make her desperate and with good reason worried both my grandmother and my parents. And after about a year, Frason was where I reached out to the doctor. There was no way to stay in that situation anymore. Let's turn ourselves in, no matter what happens, but let's turn ourselves in. He took charge. That's when he told me to come back to Capim Grosso and turn myself in. When I got here, he didn't even come with me. It wasn't the lawyer who came with me. He sent his wife instead. At no point did Her Honor ask my daughter's mother anything. Ma'am, did you ask why she didn't come to give her testimony? At no point did either the police chief or the lawyer mention her name, saying that she needed to be heard. At no time did they mention this. Oh, why call Larissa to be heard? Not at any moment. So much so that when I arrived at the police station, legally of my own free will, I went to the station with the lawyer's wife. Not him, but the lawyer who was hired. I arrived with his wife. She didn't say anything, just closed the door and said, "The guy is here. See if you can get the doctor. The doctor already spoke to you. I won't mention the lawyer's name. Not here, but the doctor has already spoken to you. The clerk was there, already said it here, but he's the guy, right?" He took it, okay, just took my statement. She didn't say anything. The lawyer didn't mention an A nor B, nothing, okay? He took my whole statement. I told him everything that had happened. I spoke. He asked me. If anyone had seen, I said it was my daughter's mother. At no point did I lie. So I just stayed there, and I've been locked up until today, canceled until today. And during the time I was locked up here in Capim Grosso, I spent 22 days here in Capim Grosso. When I was transferred, the lawyer still didn't know I was there in Feira de Santana. That was the last straw to remove him from the case and bring in other professionals.
Lucas, this is exactly the critical moment when you transition to a new team of legal professionals and we begin the process of taking over your defense. At this point in time, I would like to ask you to provide a detailed explanation while standing here today before the members of the Sentencing Council regarding the specific sequence of events and moments that immediately preceded the incident. Which moment? The moment. What were you thinking right then, thinking as a father in that moment when your family feels threatened? What goes through your mind at that moment that makes you leave? As you said, to make sure nothing happened to your family, to your wife, to Larissa, the mother of your daughter, you leave. What is it that what do you think in that moment that makes you leave?
Even though this is a follow-up question, I will not deny it, counselors. Feel free.
The only thing that goes through the mind of a father who loves his family, who loves his son or daughter, it doesn't matter which, is this. The only thing a father thinks is that he would give his life, do anything, so that nothing happens to his family. Anyone here who is a father knows exactly what I'm talking about. And anyone who is a child and has a father who loves them knows exactly what I'm talking about. At every moment, the only thing I wanted was to make sure nothing happened to my family. I tried to avoid it as much as possible, especially since I took the motorcycle away from where he was, already waiting for me. I pointed the motorcycle in another direction. Even though it was at the same corner, it was already on another street, after I was already inside the house. And just so you see that I didn't even suspect he might do something, my gate was open. My gate was open. He said he was going to call the police. My gate was open. But to think that the guy or someone would actually grab a weapon to come and hurl words, insults, threats at my family over such a trivial reason? After all, I never looked for any of this for myself. I never sought any of this for my life. I have never sought any of this for my life. Never. With mistakes. Common mistakes I may have made throughout my life, but problems with people, aggressions, arguments, looking for conflicts. Never. Quite the opposite. I've always been someone who tried to bring peace. No matter what environment I was in, I've always been the kind of guy who liked to joke around, to laugh, and to seek unity. To always be with family, with friends too, bringing people closer together. In fact, it was his cousin. Just so you know, I didn't even know his cousin. I didn't even know the kid played soccer. The guy apparently was even closer to me than to them, really, which was crucial. There wasn't a single soul at the guy's door.
Well, Lucas, I think I don't have anything else that I need to ask you right now. This is now your defense moment. It's a full defense. Is there anything else that you would like to say? If you have anything else to say, now is the time. Hold on a second.
Hey, Lucas, one question. What you just said about his cousins, right? Both of them were heard here, both Alexandro and Alessio. Was their house very close to yours, or was it a bit farther away? Look,
I can identify the house of the guy who has a disability, a health problem because of the motorcycle he used to ride. That motorcycle was always parked in front of the house. When we have a vehicle, we always park it right in front of our own house. But the house of this, where was this motorcycle parked? The house of this, what's the name of?
he said they lived next to each other.
Next to each other, right?
Yes. How many meters apart? For example, was it 20 meters, 30 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters?
It was about 150 to 200 meters. It was there, about 200 meters.
About 150 to 200 meters.
200 meters.
Ready? That was the day, right, when that happened? So the moment when you step out and leave your house, Vinicius is right there in front of you. Tell me, was there anyone else out on the street then?
Did I leave the house?
Yes.
I can't just see it and say, oh, there was someone in the street. Because I was very focused on that situation that had occurred. The distress was too much. The person becomes kind of blind to what's around you. You just get worried about that one situation. If at least someone had come up and said something, anything, then maybe it would have distracted me. But at that exact moment, I didn't hear a voice, didn't see anything, there was nothing, I didn't see anyone. Maybe there could have been someone, but I can't say if there was or wasn't.
Perfect. It's not what you think. It's not what you
Saw. Someone could have even stayed hidden, some kind of person. You
have been stuck here all this time since. From that time on the day you came, the one you just mentioned, when you went with the lawyer, right? When you went to turn yourself in, you were aware that you would go and stay, right? That there was a warrant, right? Did she explain to you that there was a warrant and that you would go and be held in custody, right? Or did she say you would go and it would be revoked?
To be honest, there was already a request for preventive detention, like it had been checked, and they even said from the exact moment when, since the day it happened, from the early morning after the incident, from Tuesday to Wednesday, from that exact moment, in my mind and in the minds of my whole family, it was clear to us that there was a request for my preventive detention. So much so that I didn't leave the house for anything.
But that's what I'm telling you. On the day you decided to turn yourself in, you knew the preventive detention was in effect and that you would go in without a set date to get out. Did they explain that to you?
Yes, I knew.
All right, perfect. You've been in custody since then until now. Do you get visits?
I get visits from my wife.
Does your daughter visit you?
It's not possible for her to visit me because of family reasons. My father, besides having his own health problems, is unable to visit me. And my mother can't bring my daughter because of her work. When can my mother come visit me? Because those are the only two people who can bring my daughter. One of them is my father, who under no circumstances can visit me, especially because of health problems. And my mother, who was the second person who could bring my daughter to visit me, never can because of work. My mother has a formal job and can't miss work. So whenever the dates line up, my child has to miss some important things at school. So many times I even prefer, for example, not to be able to get the ID card. And I fought for these 2.5 years, basically. To be able to get the ID card so my wife could bring my daughter.
So it's been 2.5 years since you've seen your daughter.
When I saw my daughter,
So the last day you saw your daughter was before you were arrested.
I saw my daughter only once. During this period, in a supervised visit that lasted about 5 minutes, just enough time for her to kiss me, hug me, and then emotional issues.
Thank you, Lucas. Are there any more questions?
Any more? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions? If there are no further questions, I declare the interrogation of Lucas Vinicius Santos de Moraes closed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the debates. Would anyone like to take a break? Would you like a snack? There's already a snack available, or would you like to continue? Continue. Does anyone need to use the restroom as well? Restroom? Just 5 minutes so that... All right. Whoever needs to use the restroom, 5 minutes. When we return, we'll...
Notice that one of the defense attorneys took advantage of the moment to try to sway the jury emotionally. And that makes a huge difference in this type of case. In fact, he didn't ask any questions at all. He simply asked the defendant to emphasize that he took the victim's life only to protect his family. The judge could very well have blocked that question. But as became clear in this trial, the judge's approach is much more flexible. He believes that allowing the parties to express themselves freely is beneficial to the proceedings. He always does his best not to block questions or statements during the trial. And personally, I like this kind of judge. Now, after hearing the defense attorney's questions, it's time for the jury to meet and make a decision. And what do you think the verdict will be? Do you think they will acquit or convict this defendant? Write your answer below while we listen to the judge read the verdict.
Verdict: acquittal. The Public Prosecutor's Office of the State of Bahia filed charges against Lucas Vinicius Santos de Moraes, already identified in the case records, accusing him of committing the crime provided for in Article 121, Paragraph 2, Items 2 and 4 of the Penal Code. The indictment states that on January 18, 2022, at around 12 p.m., on Placido de Souza Street, Novo Oeste neighborhood in Capim Grosso, the defendant, with intent to kill for a trivial reason and by means that made defense impossible, using a firearm, fired 3 shots at the victim, Lucas Gonçalves das Virgens, which were the direct cause of his death. The autopsy report was attached under the ID mentioned here. The indictment was accepted on June 2, 2023. The defendant was arrested on May 2, 2023, as well. The accused was served on June 9, 2023, and through a defense attorney. Court appointed, was it court appointed or retained? The defense? Retained? Has it already been retained? So, can you just make that change in the sentence? Retained submitted a written defense. Here I refer to the ID. At the evidentiary hearing and trial, which took place on 2 occasions, the witnesses listed by the parties were questioned, as well as the defendant was interrogated. The parties presented their closing arguments, with the prosecution requesting that the defendant be indicted as charged in the complaint. Here, the ID, in turn, the defense requested the summary acquittal of the defendant, arguing that he acted in self-defense, as well as requesting the exclusion of the aggravating circumstances sought by the public prosecutor's office. Here, as referenced, the defendant, having been indicted, was indicted under the applicable sanctions. Under Article 121, Paragraph 2, Items 2 and 4 of the Penal Code, an appeal against the indictment decision was filed, but it was unsuccessful, and the decision became final and unappealable. Here, the mention. On this date, the defendant, Lucas Vinicius Santos de Moraes, was brought before the jury court, assisted by appointed defense attorneys. At this session, the witnesses listed by the parties were duly questioned, with the exception of Edson Pinho dos Santos. Subsequently, the defendant was interrogated as recorded in the trial minutes in separate terms. The prosecution and the defense presented their arguments in the courtroom in accordance with Articles 477 and 478 of the Code of Criminal Procedure for the duration recorded in the official minutes. Next, the questions were formulated. In the appropriate record, read and explained, the Sovereign Jury Council, assembled in the deliberation room on the 4th vote, answered the first question affirmatively, recognizing the existence of the criminal act. On the second question, also by majority again on the 4th vote, they voted yes to the fact that the defendant had fired the shots with a firearm at the victim. On the third question, once again by majority of votes, and on the 4th vote, the defendant was acquitted as they voted yes to the question regarding his acquittal. On a separate question, the jurors understood on the 6th vote that the witness Alexandro Viguens de Jesus did not withhold the truth, thus rejecting the allegation of the crime of perjury. In summary, the report, as described above, was: the defendant was acquitted as recognized by the jurors. The defense is correct regardless of the reasons used by the jurors to cast their votes according to their free convictions, leaving it to the presiding judge to draft the acquittal sentence. Therefore, in the operative part, as the claim in the indictment is found to be unfounded, I acquit the defendant Lucas Vinicius Santos de Moraes, duly identified, of the charge brought against him, namely double qualified homicide, Article 121, Paragraph 2, Items 2 and 4 of the Brazilian Penal Code. I refrain from ordering the defendant to pay court costs due to his acquittal, considering that this acquittal decision removes any possible restrictions. On behalf of the defendant, in relation to this case, including the issuance of a release warrant in the BNMP. The sentence was published in this session at 8:50 p.m., of which the parties are hereby duly and personally notified. Record and carry out the usual communications. Capim Grosso, August 21st, 2025.
The jury counsel acquitted the defendant. If you were part of this group, would you have decided the same way? Did you think the sentence was fair? Leave your comment below. Thank you for watching the video and see you next time.